Here are 40 little-known celebrity facts that sound too wild to be true, but absolutely are.
Keanu Reeves is well known not only for his iconic film roles, but also for his extraordinary generosity, particularly during the production of the Matrix film series. Perhaps the most legendary example of this is how he gave away a significant portion of his earnings from the Matrix sequels to the special effects and costume departments. Estimates suggest that Reeves gave away as much as $75 million from his back-end profits, an almost unheard-of move in Hollywood. His reason? He believed that the behind-the-scenes crew were the real heroes of the film's success and deserved to share in its massive financial rewards. Reeves has long maintained a reputation for being down-to-earth and deeply respectful of those he works with. Rather than hoarding the profits from a billion-dollar franchise, he recognized that the groundbreaking visual effects, intricate fight choreography, and innovative costume design were essential to the film's global appeal. In fact, it's said that he believed the crew had made the movie and should be rewarded accordingly. This kind of selflessness is extremely rare in the entertainment industry, where top-tier actors usually retain their massive paydays, regardless of the production process or crew contributions. His actions during The Matrix weren't a one-off. Keanu has also taken pay cuts on other films, such as The Devil's Advocate and The Replacements, so studios could afford to hire big-name actors like Al Pacino and Gene Hackman. For him, the quality of the film and the well-being of the people making it have often taken precedence over personal profit. This ethos has helped build his reputation as not just a talented actor, but a genuinely compassionate and humble human being. Keanu's generosity has turned into something of a modern legend. And it's one of the many reasons he has such a loyal fan base. In an industry often criticized for excess and ego, Reeves' attitude stands in stark contrast. His decision to share his Matrix fortune with the crew didn't just reward their hard work. It sent a strong message about respect, collaboration, and valuing every part of the filmmaking process.
In 1952, Albert Einstein, already a globally celebrated physicist and humanitarian, was offered a highly unusual opportunity, the presidency of Israel. Following the death of Israel's first president, Chaim Weizmann, the Israeli government saw Einstein as an ideal candidate to serve as the nation's second president. His immense prestige, moral authority, and Jewish heritage made him a symbol of intellectual and ethical leadership that many believed could inspire the young nation. The offer was extended to Einstein by Abba Eban, Israel's ambassador to the United States at the time, through a formal letter. It was not just a ceremonial gesture. The Israeli government was serious about appointing him. However, Einstein respectfully declined the offer. In his letter of response, Einstein expressed deep appreciation for the honor, but stated that he lacked the necessary experience and aptitude for political leadership. He also believed he was too old, then 73 years old, and preferred to focus on his academic and humanitarian work. Einstein had long been a passionate supporter of Jewish causes, and was an outspoken advocate for the establishment of a Jewish homeland. He was one of the founding members of the Hebrew University of Jerusalem, and remained closely tied to it throughout his life. Despite this, he had complex views about nationalism and statehood, often expressing a more idealistic vision for humanity as a whole. This broader philosophical perspective, combined with his self-awareness of his own strengths and limitations, influenced his decision to decline such a weighty political role. Einstein's decision was widely respected, and it further cemented his image as a man guided not by power or fame, but by principle and humility. While he never took on a formal political office, his moral voice and intellectual influence continued to shape public discourse on science, war, peace, and human rights until his death in 1955.
The claim that Marilyn Monroe had an IQ of 163, higher than Albert Einstein's often-cited IQ of 160, has become a popular and provocative internet fact, often used to challenge assumptions about beauty, intelligence, and the stereotypes surrounding both. However, while the comparison makes for an eye-catching headline, the actual evidence supporting Monroe's IQ score is tenuous at best. There are no confirmed records that Marilyn Monroe ever took an official IQ test, let alone scored a 163. The figure appears to be speculative, likely derived from anecdotal reports or retroactive estimates, rather than any documented psychological evaluation. Monroe was undeniably intelligent, curious, and self-educated. She was an avid reader with a personal library of over 400 books ranging from classic literature to works on psychology and politics. She studied acting seriously under Lee Strasberg at the Actors Studio and was known to engage in deep philosophical and literary discussions with her close circle. Albert Einstein, on the other hand, never took a modern IQ test either. His estimated IQ of 160 is just that, an estimate based on his academic achievements, groundbreaking contributions to physics, and cognitive abilities as inferred by biographers and psychologists. IQ scores can be informative in certain contexts, but they are not always an accurate or comprehensive measure of someone's intelligence, particularly when comparing across vastly different individuals and eras. Ultimately, while the Monroe versus Einstein IQ comparison is more legend than fact, it serves a purpose in public discourse. It challenges us to look beyond appearances and reconsider the ways we define and value intelligence. Monroe may not have had a verified IQ of 163, but she certainly exhibited a keen intellect and depth that far exceeded the assumptions placed upon her by Hollywood and the public.
Steve Jobs, the co-founder of Apple Inc., was well known not only for his visionary approach to technology, but also for his unconventional personal habits and beliefs, particularly regarding diet and health. Throughout much of his adult life, Jobs adhered to a pescatarian diet, which means he ate no meat except for fish, and often experimented with extreme dietary regimens. One of his most notable dietary experiments was adopting a fruitarian diet, consuming mostly or exclusively fruits, nuts and seeds for extended periods. Jobs' interest in fruitarianism wasn't just about health in the conventional sense. He believed that such diets could purify the body and mind, improving not just physical health, but also mental clarity and creativity. One of the more peculiar beliefs he reportedly held was that eating only fruit could prevent body odor. This idea came from a broader philosophy rooted in natural hygiene and detoxification theories, which suggest that a clean diet results in a body so internally pure that it no longer produces unpleasant smells. During his youth and early Apple days, Jobs became fascinated with these ideas. After reading books like Diet for a Small Planet and other health literature popular in the 1970s, his dietary habits were so extreme at times that they alarmed those around him. According to his official biography by Walter Isaacson, colleagues and friends noticed that Jobs would sometimes go days eating only one or two foods, such as apples or carrots. He even went barefoot around the office and believed that his fruit-only diet meant he didn't need to shower regularly. His belief in the odour prevention effects of this diet reportedly led to friction with colleagues during his early years at Atari, where co-workers complained about his hygiene. While Jobs' beliefs about diet and body odour have not been supported by scientific evidence, they reflect his broader tendency to challenge conventional thinking and embrace alternative ideas. This mindset, while sometimes controversial, also fueled his revolutionary approach to design, product development, and leadership at Apple. In many ways, his dietary choices were just one example of his deeper desire to live deliberately and differently, from what he wore to how he built some of the most iconic products of the modern age.
During World War II, Queen Elizabeth II, then Princess Elizabeth, broke royal convention in a remarkable way by joining the Auxiliary Territorial Service, the women's branch of the British Army. In 1945, at just 18 years old, she became the first female member of the British royal family to serve in the armed forces as an active, full-time member. Her enlistment came after persistent lobbying, as King George VI initially resisted the idea of his daughter being exposed to the dangers and rigors of wartime service. Once enlisted, Princess Elizabeth trained as a mechanic and military truck driver, taking on the service number 230873. She trained in London as part of No. 1 Mechanical Training Centre of the ATS. Her training included learning how to repair and maintain engines, change tyres and drive various military vehicles, skills rarely associated with royalty, especially in that era. She became proficient in stripping and reassembling engines, driving ambulances, and handling military-grade vehicles, earning the rank of junior commander, equivalent to captain. This period of her life symbolized a strong sense of duty and solidarity with her nation during a time of profound crisis. The sight of the future monarch in overalls and grease-streaked hands served as a morale booster for many Britons and helped bridge the perceived gap between the monarchy and the people. Her wartime service helped shape her lifelong commitment to public service, discipline, and resilience. Her time in the ATS also laid the groundwork for her lifelong fascination with vehicles and machinery. Throughout her reign, Queen Elizabeth II was known for her confidence behind the wheel and often chose to drive herself during private moments, particularly at her estates in Balmoral and Windsor. In retrospect, Queen Elizabeth II's decision to serve as a mechanic wasn't just a personal milestone. It was a symbol of changing roles for women during wartime and an early indication of the Queen's practical approach to leadership, responsibility, and hands-on involvement that would characterize her record-breaking reign.
Before becoming one of Hollywood's most iconic comedic actors, Jim Carrey experienced a difficult and humble upbringing that included a period of homelessness. Born in Ontario, Canada, Carrey grew up in a working-class family where financial instability was a constant challenge. His father, Percy Carrey, was a musician and accountant who lost his job when Jim was a teenager. The loss of income plunged the family into financial hardship, and they were eventually forced to live in a van. At one point, the Carrey family parked their van on a relative's lawn, and Jim and his brother took jobs as janitors and security guards at a tire factory to help make ends meet. Carrey later described this time as emotionally difficult and filled with uncertainty. Despite these hardships, he maintained a sense of humor and a strong desire to perform. His early experiences shaped his character, fueling his ambition and resilience. Jim Carrey dropped out of high school at age 16 to pursue a career in comedy. He began performing stand-up in Toronto and gradually built a name for himself, though it took years of small gigs, rejection, and hard work before his breakthrough. His big moment came when he moved to Los Angeles and landed roles on the sketch comedy show In Living Color, which led to his star-making performances in films like Ace Ventura, Pet Detective, The Mask, and Dumb and Dumber. Carrey has spoken openly about his past, using it to inspire others who face similar struggles. His story is a testament to perseverance, illustrating how determination, talent, and humor can help overcome even the most challenging beginnings. His rise from living in a van to becoming a beloved Hollywood figure underscores the power of resilience and belief in oneself.
Freddie Mercury, the legendary frontman of Queen, possessed a vocal range that continues to astonish music experts and fans alike. He is widely reported to have had a 4-octave vocal range, which is exceptionally rare, even among trained opera singers and professional vocalists. While most people can comfortably sing within a range of about 2 octaves, Mercury's voice spanned much farther, reportedly from a low F2 to a high F6. This vast range allowed him to effortlessly shift between deep growls and high falsettos, contributing to the unique and dynamic sound that defined Queen's music. What made Mercury's voice even more remarkable wasn't just the range, but the power, flexibility and emotion he conveyed within it. He could switch between vocal registers, chest voice, head voice and falsetto with apparent ease, and he used vibrato and dramatic phrasing to enhance the theatrical flair of his performances. Mercury had no formal vocal training, yet he could mimic the tones and styles of a wide array of genres, from hard rock and opera to funk and disco. His delivery was so powerful and expressive that it became a cornerstone of Queen's identity. In 2016, a group of scientists conducted a study analysing Mercury's vocal abilities using archival recordings and vocal samples. Though they couldn't definitively confirm the full extent of his range due to the lack of surviving isolated vocal tracks, the researchers did find that Mercury's vocal cords likely vibrated at a faster rate than most people's, which may have contributed to his unique sound. The study also noted that he frequently used subharmonics, an advanced vocal technique rarely used in popular music. Mercury's vocal prowess was more than a technical marvel. It was an emotional instrument. Whether he was belting out rock anthems like We Are the Champions or delivering hauntingly tender ballads like Love of My Life, his voice had the ability to captivate and connect with listeners. This rare gift, combined with his magnetic stage presence and creative vision, helped elevate Queen to legendary status and cemented his place as one of the greatest vocalists in rock history. Freddie Mercury's 4-octave range remains one of the most cited and celebrated aspects of his legacy. While the numbers alone are impressive, it's how he used that range with passion, nuance and flair that truly made his voice unforgettable.
Before becoming a globally recognised action star, Vin Diesel lived a much more grounded and gritty life. One of his early jobs was working as a nightclub bouncer in New York City, a role that not only helped him pay the bills, but also shaped a tough, streetwise persona he would later bring to the big screen. Diesel, whose real name is Mark Sinclair, adopted the name Vin Diesel during this period. Vin comes from his stepfather's last name, Vincent, and Diesel was a nickname he earned from friends who said he was always full of energy, like a diesel engine. Being a bouncer in the rough nightlife scene of 1980s and early 1990s New York required Diesel to develop a commanding presence, which would later translate well into his roles in action films. The experience also gave him a first-hand look at human behaviour, conflict and confidence, valuable tools for an aspiring actor and filmmaker. During this time, he was also pursuing a career in theatre and began writing and directing his own short films to break into the industry. What many people don't know is that Vin Diesel has a fraternal twin brother named Paul Vincent. Paul keeps a much lower public profile compared to his famous sibling. While Diesel is known for his roles in blockbuster franchises like Fast and Furious and Riddick, Paul works more behind the scenes, including reported work in the field of film editing and sound. The brothers are close, but Paul has largely avoided the limelight, allowing Diesel to carry the spotlight while maintaining a more private life. Diesel has occasionally spoken about his twin in interviews, and a few rare photos of them together have circulated online, often surprising fans who had no idea he had a sibling, let alone a twin. Despite their different career paths, the brothers share a deep bond, and Diesel has expressed admiration for his brother's quiet strength and grounded nature. These lesser-known details about Vin Diesel's early life and family background add dimension to his tough guy image. From bouncing at nightclubs under a pseudonym to becoming one of Hollywood's highest-paid actors, all while sharing his journey with a twin brother behind the scenes, Diesel's story is one of transformation, persistence, and surprising depth.
Emma Watson, best known for her role as Hermione Granger in the Harry Potter film series, was born on April 15, 1990, in Paris, France. Her parents, both British lawyers, were working in Paris at the time, and she spent the first 5 years of her life living in the French capital. Although her family moved back to England when she was still a child, her early years in France left a lasting impression and formed the foundation of her bilingualism. Because of her early exposure to the French language, Watson speaks fluent French, a fact that surprises many fans who primarily associate her with her British identity. She has demonstrated her language skills in interviews and public appearances, and she occasionally uses French in speeches or when traveling abroad. While she's mentioned that her French isn't perfect, she maintains a strong grasp of the language and continues to use it when she can. Watson's multicultural upbringing contributed to her global outlook and adaptability, traits that have helped her transition smoothly from acting into activism and public speaking on an international stage. Her ability to communicate in French has proven especially useful in her humanitarian work, such as her advocacy for gender equality with the United Nations, where engaging with diverse audiences is essential. Overall, Watson's Parisian birth and bilingual abilities are lesser-known facets of her identity that highlight her international background and cultural depth. These elements not only enrich her public persona, but also reflect her intellect and versatility, qualities that have helped her evolve far beyond her early image as a child star.
Jeff Bezos, the founder of Amazon, began what would become one of the most influential and valuable companies in the world from remarkably humble beginnings. In 1994, Bezos left his job at a hedge fund in New York and moved to Seattle to pursue his idea of creating an online bookstore. A bold move, at a time when the internet was still in its infancy. He founded the company originally as Cadabra, which was quickly renamed Amazon for its alphabetical and global appeal. He launched the business out of his garage, using the limited space and resources he had to get the venture off the ground. In the early days of Amazon, Bezos was known for his resourcefulness and frugality. Rather than investing in expensive office furniture, he and his small team made makeshift desks out of wooden doors purchased from Home Depot. These door desks became a symbol of Amazon's early culture of frugality, practicality, and ingenuity. The door desk model even became somewhat legendary within the company, representing a commitment to keeping costs low and focusing on what mattered most, serving the customer. Bezos worked long hours from his garage, filling orders, coding the website, and managing the logistics of a growing online operation. In 1995, Amazon.com officially went live, offering books to customers across the United States. The company quickly expanded, buoyed by its innovative use of customer reviews, personalized recommendations, and a strong emphasis on customer satisfaction. Over the years, Bezos's garage startup grew into a colossal global enterprise, but the story of its modest beginnings continues to inspire countless entrepreneurs. The tale of using door desks in a suburban garage captures the spirit of innovation and grit that helped turn Amazon into one of the world's most powerful and disruptive companies.
Stephen Hawking, one of the most renowned theoretical physicists of the modern era, was born on January 8, 1942, a date that holds symbolic significance in the history of science. Remarkably, his birth occurred exactly 300 years to the day after the death of Galileo Galilei, the legendary Italian astronomer and physicist who played a foundational role in the development of modern science. Galileo died on January 8, 1642. This poetic coincidence has often been noted by commentators as a symbolic passing of the scientific torch from one of the earliest champions of the scientific method to a mind that would revolutionize our understanding of black holes, the nature of time, and the origins of the universe. Equally striking is the date of Stephen Hawking's death. He passed away on March 14, 2018, which is celebrated globally as Pi Day due to the numerical date resembling the mathematical constant pi. But even more symbolically, March 14th is also the birthday of Albert Einstein, another iconic figure in physics whose theory of general relativity profoundly influenced Hawking's own work. Einstein was born on March 14, 1879, and his insights into space, time and gravity laid the groundwork for much of Hawking's theoretical achievements. These cosmic alignments, being born on the anniversary of Galileo's death and dying on Einstein's birthday, have led many to reflect on Hawking's place within the lineage of great scientific minds. While purely coincidental, the dates seem to underscore the profound influence he had in continuing humanity's pursuit of understanding the universe, building on the intellectual legacies of both Galileo and Einstein.
Barack Obama, the 44th President of the United States, is not only known for his political achievements, but also for his talents as a writer and speaker. One notable recognition of his oratorical skill came in the form of a Grammy Award, which he won in 2006 for Best Spoken Word Album. The award was for his narration of the audiobook version of his memoir, Dreams from My Father, A Story of Race and Inheritance. Originally published in 1995, the book recounts Obama's early life, his struggles with identity, and his journey to understand his father's legacy. His narration, marked by its calm delivery and emotional resonance, earned praise for bringing the memoir's intimate and reflective tone to life. Winning a Grammy placed Obama among a rare group of political figures recognized in the realm of entertainment. The award also showcased his ability to connect with audiences beyond the political sphere, highlighting the personal depth and storytelling ability that helped define his public persona. It's worth noting that Obama later won a second Grammy in 2008, again in the same category for his audiobook, The Audacity of Hope, further solidifying his unique place in both political and cultural history. The Grammy win for Dreams from My Father helped introduce Obama to a broader audience before his rise to national political prominence. It played a role in building the foundation for his eventual candidacy for president, as more people were drawn to his personal story and eloquent voice. The memoir and its audiobook version have continued to resonate with readers and listeners, serving as a powerful narrative about heritage, identity, and the complexity of the American experience.
Tom Cruise is widely recognized not only for his acting talent, but also for his extraordinary commitment to performing nearly all his own stunts, a rare trait among A-list Hollywood actors. This dedication has become a defining characteristic of his career, especially in the Mission Impossible franchise, where he continually pushes the limits of physical endurance and cinematic realism. From scaling the Burj Khalifa in Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol to performing a halo jump, which stands for high altitude low opening, from 25,000 feet in Fallout, Cruise's insistence on doing his own stunts adds a visceral authenticity that fans and critics alike deeply admire. His approach is not just about spectacle, it reflects a deep belief in immersive storytelling. Cruise has said in interviews that performing stunts himself enhances the viewer's experience, allowing the camera to stay on him during complex action scenes without cutting to a stunt double. This creates a more intense and realistic feel, as audiences can see his face and expressions even in the most dangerous sequences. His training for these stunts is equally intense. He undergoes rigorous physical preparation and often learns entirely new skills, like flying helicopters or holding his breath underwater for extended periods, just for a single scene. Cruise's commitment, however, has not come without risk. He has sustained injuries on set, most notably breaking his ankle while jumping between buildings during a stunt for Mission Impossible Fallout, a moment that was actually kept in the final film. Despite the dangers, he continues to raise the bar with each project, determined to deliver experiences that feel thrilling and real. His approach has influenced the action genre and inspired both actors and filmmakers to consider new ways to blend performance and action. Tom Cruise's stunt work is more than just a career quirk. It's a testament to his passion for cinema and relentless pursuit of excellence.
Charlize Theron, the Academy Award-winning actress known for her powerful performances and commanding screen presence, endured a deeply traumatic event during her teenage years that shaped much of her perspective on life and strength. When she was just 15 years old, Theron witnessed her mother, Gerda, shoot and kill her father, Charles Theron, in self-defense. The incident occurred at the family's farm in Benoni, South Africa, after years of domestic abuse and alcoholism. Charles Theron was reportedly a violent and abusive man, especially when under the influence of alcohol. On the night of the incident, he came home intoxicated and, according to reports, threatened both Charlize and her mother with a firearm. In an act of self-defense and in an effort to protect herself and her daughter, Gerda Theron shot and killed him. Due to the circumstances, no charges were filed, and South African authorities ruled the act as justifiable self-defense. Charlize Theron has spoken about the event in various interviews, but only in later years did she begin to address it more openly. She has expressed that the experience was incredibly painful and traumatic, but also that her mother showed tremendous courage and strength in a horrifying situation. Theron has emphasized that while the event itself does not define her, it has undoubtedly influenced her life, particularly in her advocacy against domestic violence. Through her platform, Theron has become a vocal supporter of women's rights and survivors of abuse. She often credits her mother as a source of resilience and inspiration. The tragedy they experienced together not only tested their bond, but also forged an unbreakable sense of loyalty and empowerment that continues to inform Theron's personal and professional life.
One of the most enduring and inspirational stories about Michael Jordan, widely regarded as the greatest basketball player of all time, is that he was once cut from his high school basketball team, a moment that could have derailed a less determined athlete. This event occurred during his sophomore year at Laney High School in Wilmington, North Carolina. Eager to join the varsity team, Jordan tried out, but was deemed too short at the time, around 5 feet 10 inches, and not yet skilled enough to make the cut. Instead, he was placed on the junior varsity or JV team, while a taller player, Leroy Smith, was selected for varsity to fill a need for height. This setback deeply affected Jordan, igniting a fire that would come to define his legendary career. He later recalled going home and crying after reading the varsity team list that didn't include his name. But rather than giving up, He used the disappointment as motivation. Jordan trained relentlessly, pushing himself to improve every aspect of his game. He dominated the junior varsity league, showcasing an incredible work ethic, and by the following year he had earned a spot on the varsity team. He would go on to become a McDonald's All-American and earn a scholarship to play at the University of North Carolina. The story of being cut from his high school team has become a foundational part of Michael Jordan's mythology, an example of how rejection and failure can be transformed into fuel for greatness. It speaks to his resilience, competitive nature, and refusal to let early obstacles define his potential. Over time, this narrative has inspired countless athletes and individuals across all fields, reminding them that setbacks can be the starting point of extraordinary success if met with dedication and perseverance. While the story is sometimes exaggerated or oversimplified, its core truth remains powerful. Even the most legendary figures face rejection, and what sets them apart is how they respond. For Jordan, being cut was not an end, but the beginning of a journey that would take him to 6 NBA championships, 5 MVP awards, and a legacy as a global icon of excellence and determination.
In 1977, Bill Gates, co-founder of Microsoft, was arrested in Albuquerque, New Mexico, for a traffic violation. At the time, he was in the early stages of building what would become the world's most influential software company. Gates had moved to Albuquerque because Microsoft, then a fledgling business, was working closely with Microinstrumentation and Telemetry Systems, a company based there that produced the Altair 8800, one of the first personal computers. The arrest was reportedly due to driving without a license and running a red light, though the exact details of the incident remain somewhat vague. The arrest gained additional attention in later years, primarily because of the now famous mugshot of a young Bill Gates smiling calmly at the camera. This image has since become something of a pop culture artifact, often shared as a quirky reminder of the tech mogul's early rebellious days. Despite the incident, Gates continued to focus intensely on developing Microsoft, and the event had no impact on his trajectory toward becoming one of the wealthiest and most influential people in the world. Interestingly, Gates himself has made light of the arrest over the years, and the mugshot has been referenced in various media and interviews. It serves as an anecdotal piece of his personal history, reflecting the human and occasionally humorous side of someone otherwise seen as a serious business leader and philanthropist.
Rihanna, the globally renowned singer, entrepreneur, and fashion icon, holds a deeply significant role in her home country of Barbados. In 2018, she was officially appointed as an Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary by the government of Barbados, a title that reflects her wide-reaching influence and commitment to the nation's development. The position was granted to her by Prime Minister Mia Mottley in recognition of her contributions not only to the global music and fashion industries, but also to social causes and national pride. As an honorary ambassador, Rihanna was tasked with promoting education, tourism, and investment for Barbados. Her global platform and immense popularity made her a powerful figure in helping shape and project the image of the island nation on the world stage. Her involvement wasn't merely symbolic. Rihanna actively participated in discussions around modernizing the national identity and was closely aligned with efforts to update the branding and international perception of Barbados. Perhaps most notably, Rihanna played a prominent role in Barbados's transition from a constitutional monarchy to a republic in 2021. During the Republic ceremony, which marked the removal of Queen Elizabeth II as head of state and the swearing-in of the country's first president, Rihanna was honored as a national hero, a rare and historic designation. Prime Minister Mottley declared that the country was recognizing someone who had not only excelled in their field, but also carried the pride of Barbados with them in every endeavor. Through her philanthropic efforts, her Clara Lionel Foundation, and her dedication to national causes, Rihanna has become a symbol of modern Barbadian identity, one rooted in strength, creativity, and independence. Her ambassadorial role and the national recognition she has received reflect how deeply she is woven into the cultural and political fabric of Barbados.
Before Rocky made him a household name, Sylvester Stallone faced immense financial hardship, so severe that he was reportedly living in poverty and struggling to survive. In the early 1970s, Stallone was a struggling actor and aspiring screenwriter in New York City. Despite his ambitions and dedication, he was unable to land consistent acting work and was barely getting by. Things became so desperate that in a moment of heartbreaking necessity, he sold his beloved dog, Butkus, for $40 outside a liquor store because he could no longer afford to feed him. Butkus was more than just a pet. He was Stallone's companion and emotional support during the lowest period of his life. Stallone has said in interviews that selling Butkus was one of the most painful decisions he ever made. However, his fortunes began to change when he wrote the screenplay for Rocky the Underdog boxing story that mirrored his own struggles. When producers became interested in the script, Stallone famously refused to sell it unless he was cast in the lead role. Eventually, he got his wish, and Rocky went on to become a massive critical and commercial success, earning multiple Academy Awards and launching his career. With his first real paycheck from the movie deal, Stallone tracked down the man he had sold Butkus to and bought the dog back, reportedly for $15,000, although some versions of the story say it was less. Regardless of the exact amount, it symbolized a full-circle moment for Stallone. Butkus even appeared in Rocky and Rocky II, immortalized alongside the man who had sacrificed everything to chase a dream. This story has become an iconic part of Hollywood lore and a symbol of Stallone's determination, loyalty, and resilience. It reflects not only his love for his dog, but also the unwavering belief he had in himself and his vision for Rocky. The tale of Stallone and Butkus continues to inspire those facing adversity, showing how persistence, heart, and grit can lead to extraordinary outcomes.
Oprah Winfrey, now one of the most influential media figures in history, faced a major setback early in her career when she was fired from her first television job. In the 1970s, she worked as a news anchor at WJZ-TV in Baltimore, where station management reportedly deemed her unfit for television. Her emotional delivery, considered too expressive and personal at the time, clashed with the station's expectations for news reporting, which favored a more detached, objective style. She was eventually removed from her role as co-anchor of the evening news and demoted to daytime television, a move that seemed like a failure but ultimately redirected the course of her career. Instead of letting the dismissal derail her ambitions, Winfrey embraced the opportunity to work on a local daytime talk show called People Are Talking. It was there that she found her true voice and connected with audiences through her natural warmth, empathy, and relatability. Her ability to forge emotional connections, once seen as a flaw in hard news, became her greatest strength in talk television. This shift set the stage for what would become a historic media journey. Oprah's big break came in 1986 when she launched The Oprah Winfrey Show, which ran for 25 years and became one of the highest-rated programs in television history. She redefined what a talk show could be, using it not just for celebrity interviews and entertainment, but as a platform for social issues, self-improvement and empowerment. Her influence grew beyond television to publishing, philanthropy, and even film production, establishing her as a cultural and business powerhouse. Looking back, Oprah has spoken candidly about her firing and early struggles, often highlighting them as key moments of growth and redirection. Her story has become a powerful example of how apparent rejection can be a disguised redirection towards something greater. Being told she wasn't fit for TV didn't end her journey. It started it. Her resilience and belief in herself helped her turn that early setback into a launching pad for one of the most remarkable media careers in history.
Taylor Swift is renowned not only for her singing but also for her exceptional songwriting ability. From the start of her career, Swift has written or co-written every one of her released songs, a rare accomplishment in the pop music industry, where it's common for artists to rely heavily on outside writers. Her songwriting has been a cornerstone of her artistry and a key reason for her enduring connection with fans. Whether she's detailing personal experiences, exploring fictional narratives, or commenting on broader emotions and themes, her lyrics consistently reflect a deep understanding of storytelling and emotional nuance. Swift's debut album, Taylor Swift, was released when she was just 16 years old, and she was the sole writer of 3 tracks and the primary co-writer on the rest, an unusual feat for someone so young. As her discography expanded, she maintained her strong involvement in the writing process. On albums like Speak Now, Swift took this a step further and wrote every song by herself, in part to respond to critics who claimed she relied too much on collaborators. This demonstrated not only her capability, but also her determination to assert creative control over her music. Over the years, Swift has worked with some of the industry's top producers and co-writers, such as Max Martin, Jack Antonoff, and Aaron Dessner, among others, especially as she transitioned more into pop and indie genres. However, even in these collaborations, Swift remains deeply involved in the lyrical and melodic creation, often coming to the studio with developed ideas or lyrics already in hand. Her fingerprints are unmistakably present in the emotional depth, narrative arcs, and clever wordplay of her songs. This dedication to authorship has earned her widespread respect, not just from fans, but also from critics and fellow musicians. Swift has won numerous awards for her songwriting, including being named Songwriter Artist of the Decade by the Nashville Songwriters Association International. Her lyrics have been studied in academic settings, praised for their literary quality and storytelling technique. In an industry where authenticity can be elusive, Swift's consistent authorship has been central to her credibility, artistic identity, and enduring popularity. During the 2008 Beijing Olympics, Usain Bolt, widely considered the fastest man in history, reportedly consumed around 100 chicken nuggets a day. In his memoir, Faster Than Lightning, my autobiography, Bolt candidly shared that he found the local Chinese cuisine unfamiliar and unappealing, so he relied heavily on McDonald's for sustenance. Conveniently located in the Olympic Village, the fast food giant became his go-to meal source. For the better part of his stay, he claimed to eat nuggets for breakfast, lunch and dinner, often accompanied by fries and an apple pie. Despite what many might consider a nutritionally questionable diet, Bolt's performance in Beijing was nothing short of extraordinary. He won 3 gold medals, 100 metres, 200 metres and 4x100 metre relay, and broke world records in the process. His dominance on the track, paired with his laid-back personality and unusual dietary habits, further fueled his legend. That he could run faster than anyone in the world while consuming massive quantities of fast food seemed to defy every principle of elite athletic nutrition. Bolt's nugget habit has since become part of Olympic law, offering both amusement and amazement. While nutritionists would never recommend such a diet for high performance, Bolt's sheer natural talent and physical prowess may have overridden the typical consequences of poor eating habits, at least for a short time. The story also underscores the quirky and human side of elite athletes, reminding us that even at the highest level, personal comfort and routine can sometimes trump conventional wisdom.
Cristiano Ronaldo, one of the most celebrated footballers in history, is known not just for his athletic prowess, but also for his dedication to personal health and philanthropy. One lesser-known but widely shared fact about Ronaldo is that he has no tattoos, a rarity among modern football stars. The primary reason he remains ink-free is his commitment to regularly donating blood. In many countries, including his native Portugal, blood donation guidelines recommend that individuals refrain from giving blood for a period after getting a tattoo, due to the risk of infection from unsterile tattoo equipment. Ronaldo has spoken publicly about the importance of blood donation, and has participated in campaigns to encourage others to do the same. He began donating blood early in his career, and has maintained the practice consistently over the years. His decision to avoid tattoos, despite being in a sport where body art is highly popular, is a reflection of his personal values and priorities. It also fits into his broader lifestyle philosophy, one that emphasizes discipline, health, and helping others. Beyond blood donation, Ronaldo has also been involved in bone marrow donation, and has urged others to register as potential donors. His advocacy is deeply personal. He was moved to action when a teammate's child needed a transplant. Unlike many celebrities who keep their charitable efforts private or limited, Ronaldo has used his platform to raise awareness about medical donations in a visible and influential way. His tattoo-free body is not just a personal aesthetic choice, but a symbol of his dedication to saving lives, quietly and consistently off the pitch.
Before becoming one of Hollywood's most iconic actresses and humanitarian figures, Angelina Jolie once considered a career path vastly different from the spotlight. She aspired to become a funeral director. This unusual ambition came during a turbulent period in her adolescence, when she was grappling with emotional challenges and trying to find a sense of purpose. According to interviews she has given, Jolie's interest in the funeral industry was sparked by the death of her grandfather and her dissatisfaction with how his funeral was handled. She felt that people deserved more dignity and compassion in death than what she observed. Jolie's desire to enter the funeral business wasn't just a passing thought. It was something she explored seriously. She reportedly even took steps toward enrolling in embalming courses and studied what would be required to become a licensed funeral director. In her view, it was a way to help people through one of the most difficult moments in life by offering respectful and personalized services. Her mindset was grounded in the belief that death should be approached with care and sensitivity, not cold formality. Ultimately, Jolie's path veered toward acting, influenced by her family background. Her father is actor John Voight, and her natural talents in the field. Still, her early interest in funeral work offers a glimpse into her complex personality and the deep empathy that would later define her humanitarian work. It reflects a side of her that has always been drawn to serious, meaningful endeavors, even those that fall outside traditional expectations for celebrities. Though she never became a funeral director, the compassion that motivated her aspiration is evident in the causes she champions today.
Vincent van Gogh, now celebrated as one of the greatest and most influential painters in Western art, lived a life marked by poverty, obscurity, and emotional struggle. During his lifetime, he only sold one painting, The Red Vineyard, which was purchased in 1890, just months before his death. The buyer was Anna Boch, a fellow artist and art collector associated with the Les Sex group in Belgium. The painting sold for 400 francs, a modest sum, and it remains the only confirmed sale Van Gogh made while he was alive. Despite producing over 2,000 artworks, including around 860 oil paintings, Van Gogh received very little recognition or financial success during his career. His expressive, bold style and emotionally charged themes were ahead of their time and often misunderstood by the public and critics alike. He struggled with mental health issues and lived largely dependent on the support of his younger brother, Theo van Gogh, who believed deeply in his talent and acted as his confidant, financier, and emotional anchor. Van Gogh's lack of commercial success was not due to a lack of productivity or passion. These works are now iconic and valued in the hundreds of millions, yet he died in relative anonymity in 1890 at the age of 37, believing himself a failure. It wasn't until after his death that Van Gogh's genius was widely recognized. Today, Van Gogh's legacy stands as a poignant testament to how revolutionary art is often misunderstood in its time, and how lasting impact can transcend immediate success.
Steve Jobs, the visionary co-founder of Apple Inc., was known not only for his groundbreaking innovations, but also for his quirks and unconventional behavior. One of the most peculiar facts about him was his refusal to put license plates on his car. For years, Jobs drove a silver Mercedes-Benz SL 55 AMG that was consistently seen without a license plate, sparking rumors and speculation. It wasn't an act of rebellion against the law, but rather a clever exploitation of a legal loophole in California vehicle regulations. At the time, California law allowed a grace period of up to 6 months for new car owners to display a license plate. Jobs and his team reportedly discovered that by leasing a new car every 6 months, specifically the same model and color, he could continuously avoid ever having to attach plates. As long as the car was always technically new under the law, he didn't have to mount a license plate on it. This allowed him to maintain the sleek, minimalist look of his car, aligning with his personal and professional design ethos. The reasoning behind this unusual behavior has been debated. Some say Jobs was simply obsessed with aesthetics and symmetry, detesting the look of a license plate on his car. Others believe it reflected his desire for privacy and control, making it harder for people to track him. There's also the idea that it was a reflection of his personality, brilliant, exacting, and at times defiant of convention or bureaucracy. While the practice itself wasn't illegal, it was certainly unusual and reflective of Jobs' larger-than-life persona. His approach to everything, from product design to personal choices, often challenged norms and redefined expectations. Even something as mundane as a license plate became a small but telling example of how Jobs lived by his own rules, always looking for the elegant or unconventional solution, even outside the realm of technology.
Katy Perry, known for her colourful personality and chart-topping pop hits, has long been an outspoken animal lover. One of the most beloved figures in her personal life was her cat, humorously and affectionately named Kitty Purry. The name is a playful spin on Perry's own, fitting a whimsical brand and sense of humour. Kitty Purry became a sort of unofficial mascot for Katy Perry in the early stages of her career, especially around the time she released her breakthrough album One of the Boys in 2008. Kitty Purry wasn't just a private pet, she became a small-scale pop culture figure among Perry's fan base. The cat frequently appeared in Katy's social media posts, music video cameos, and even in some promotional materials. Fans embraced Kitty Purry with enthusiasm, creating fan art, social media pages, and merchandise featuring the feline. At one point, Kitty even had her own blog and was included in Katy's tour content, further cementing her celebrity pet status. This playful integration of her pet into her public image mirrored Perry's broader approach to fame, engaging, quirky, and deeply connected to her fans. Kitty Purry symbolized the relatable, down-to-earth side of the pop star amid the glitter and glamour of her music career. She was not just a pet, but part of the narrative Perry built around her identity as both an artist and a person. Although Kitty Purry has since passed away, she left a notable paw print on Perry's legacy and in the hearts of fans. Katy even paid tribute to her cat in public posts, mourning her loss and celebrating the many years they shared. The affection for Kitty Purry endures among longtime fans, a testament to how a simple, personal detail can resonate deeply and become part of a pop star's unique story.
At just 17 years old, LeBron James was thrust into the national spotlight when he appeared on the cover of Sports Illustrated in February 2002. The headline read, "The Chosen One," a bold proclamation that captured the enormous expectations already surrounding the high school junior from St. Vincent St. Mary High School in Akron, Ohio. At the time, James was widely regarded as the most promising basketball prospect in decades, and the article detailed his skills, maturity, and potential to revolutionize the game at the professional level. The cover appearance was extraordinary not only because of James's age, but because Sports Illustrated rarely gave such attention to high school athletes. It instantly elevated LeBron to a level of fame and scrutiny that few teenagers experience, placing him under the intense gaze of media, fans, and scouts alike. The label The Chosen One was both a crown and a burden. He was expected to live up to a prophecy of greatness before he had even played a college or NBA game. Rather than crumble under the pressure, James embraced it. He even got the phrase "Chosen One" tattooed across his back, symbolizing his willingness to accept and fulfill the lofty expectations placed upon him. This early media attention marked the beginning of a professional journey that would eventually include multiple NBA championships, MVP awards, Olympic gold medals, and a legacy as one of the greatest basketball players in history. Looking back, the Sports Illustrated cover serves as a pivotal moment in sports history, a time when the world was introduced to a teenage prodigy who would go on to meet and exceed the immense hype. LeBron James's career has been defined not just by his performance on the court, but by how he carried the weight of being the chosen one with extraordinary discipline, focus, and grace.
Seeing Jennifer Lawrence's rise to fame began with an unexpected and serendipitous moment. She was discovered by a talent scout while on a family vacation in New York City. At the time, she was just 14 years old and had no formal acting training or aspirations to become a star. While walking the streets of Manhattan with her mother, she caught the eye of a talent scout who was immediately struck by her natural charisma and presence. That chance encounter led to a whirlwind of auditions and eventually marked the beginning of her acting career. After the initial discovery, Lawrence quickly impressed agents and casting directors with her raw talent and mature screen presence. She began booking small roles in commercials and television shows, including a part on the series The Bill Engvall Show. Her big breakthrough came in 2010 with the critically acclaimed indie film Winter's Bone, where she played a gritty and determined teenager in rural Missouri. The role earned her an Academy Award nomination for Best Actress. making her one of the youngest nominees in the category's history at the time. What's remarkable about Lawrence's journey is how rapidly she ascended the ranks in Hollywood, all stemming from a spontaneous moment that most people would consider sheer luck. However, it wasn't just luck that carried her forward. It was her undeniable talent, work ethic, and authenticity. That random discovery in New York ignited a career that would soon include blockbuster roles in the Hunger Games franchise, Silver Linings Playbook, and American Hustle, along with multiple Oscar nominations and a win. Her story is often cited as an example of how unpredictable and serendipitous success in the entertainment industry can be. From a teenager strolling through New York with no acting experience to one of the most bankable and respected actresses in Hollywood, Jennifer Lawrence's origin story reflects both the randomness of being discovered and the power of natural talent meeting opportunity.
Before becoming the leader of the Roman Catholic Church, Pope Francis, born Jorge Mario Bergoglio, led a surprisingly diverse and grounded life, including working as a nightclub bouncer in Buenos Aires, Argentina. This little-known chapter of his life is often cited as an example of his down-to-earth nature and deep understanding of everyday people. As a young man in his native Argentina, he took on various jobs to support himself and his family, and one of those roles involved maintaining order at the door of a local club. His time as a bouncer came during a period when he was also pursuing his studies and spiritual growth. Bergoglio worked at the club at night while also studying chemistry and later entering the seminary. The experience gave him early exposure to the grittier side of human behavior, helping him develop the kind of patience, street smarts and people skills that would later define his papacy. It also added to his reputation as a pope who is both humble and relatable, someone who has lived a life not far removed from the struggles of ordinary people. The story of his time as a bouncer has often been mentioned by Pope Francis himself in interviews and public addresses, not as a boast, but to highlight the varied paths life can take and the importance of staying connected to one's roots. It stands in stark contrast to the often rarefied lives of many high-ranking clergy, and it reinforces the message that faith leaders are also human beings, shaped by real-world experiences. Ultimately, this chapter of his life contributes to the broader narrative of Pope Francis as a reform-minded, accessible and empathetic figure. Whether it's washing the feet of prisoners or speaking candidly about economic injustice, his early experiences, including his unlikely role as a nightclub bouncer, have helped mould a papacy that is less about pomp and more about compassion, humility and connection.
Bill Murray, the iconic actor and comedian known for films like Ghostbusters, Groundhog Day and Lost in Translation, is famously elusive in Hollywood circles, not just because of his quirky personality, but also due to his unconventional approach to working in the industry. Unlike nearly all major actors, Murray does not have an agent or a manager. Instead, he set up a 1-800 number where aspiring directors, producers and collaborators must leave a voicemail pitching their projects. There's no guarantee he'll listen to the messages, let alone respond. This unique system has become legendary in entertainment circles and is part of the mystique that surrounds his career choices. The origins of this method are rooted in Murray's desire to have more control over his time and avoid the constant pressure of Hollywood's fast-paced, transactional environment. By eliminating traditional gatekeepers, he can pursue roles that genuinely interest him, at his own pace and on his own terms. It's a way of filtering out noise and only engaging with projects that strike a chord with him personally. However, this approach has also meant that many filmmakers have struggled to get in touch with him, and some projects reportedly stalled or shifted because they couldn't confirm his involvement in time. Despite the impracticality of the method, it has contributed to Murray's legendary status as a cultural icon who operates outside the norms of the industry. Directors like Wes Anderson and Sofia Coppola have successfully reached him through the 1-800 number or by sheer persistence and personal connections. In fact, Coppola once famously waited months for him to agree to star in Lost in Translation, a role that earned him an Oscar nomination and critical acclaim, after only leaving a vague commitment via voicemail. Bill Murray's choice to reject the typical Hollywood machinery exemplifies his fiercely independent spirit. It has allowed him to cultivate a mystique that's both frustrating and fascinating, leading to a career that's unpredictable but uniquely authentic. His 1-800 number is more than just a logistical oddity. It's a symbol of his refusal to conform and a reminder that, in a world driven by constant communication and accessibility, sometimes less really is more. Shia LaBeouf is widely known for his intense dedication to his roles, often pushing the boundaries of method acting to fully immerse himself in his characters. One of the most extreme examples of this commitment reportedly occurred during the filming of the 2014 war movie Fury, directed by David Ayer and starring Brad Pitt. In preparation for his role as Boyd Bible Swan, a deeply religious tank gunner, LaBeouf allegedly went to extraordinary lengths to embody the psychological and physical reality of a World War II soldier. According to various reports and cast interviews, LaBeouf did not shower for extended periods during filming, wanting to replicate the unsanitary and grueling conditions soldiers endured on the battlefield. He also allegedly had one of his own teeth removed, though a more sensational version of the story claims he had multiple, up to 20 teeth pulled. So this higher number, however, is widely regarded as an exaggeration or maybe a misunderstanding. In addition, it's been stated that he actually cut his own face during production to ensure the makeup department wouldn't have to apply artificial wounds. He supposedly reopened the cuts each day to keep that consistency in appearance, opting for real injuries over prosthetics. LaBeouf's intense behaviour reportedly caused tension on set, with some cast members noting that his extreme method acting made collaboration a bit challenging at times. Director David Ayer has defended LaBeouf's approach, suggesting that his raw commitment added authenticity to the film. Nonetheless, stories like these have fueled both admiration and controversy around LaBeouf, solidifying his reputation as one of the most unpredictable and committed actors of his generation. Will Smith famously turned down the lead role of Neo in The Matrix, a decision he has openly discussed in interviews with a mix of humour and humility. At the time, Smith was at the height of his popularity, coming off blockbuster successes like Independence Day and Men in Black. When the Wachowskis, relatively unknown filmmakers at the time, approached him with the concept for The Matrix, Smith admits he didn't fully grasp the visionary nature of their idea. He later described their pitch as confusing and too abstract, involving vague explanations of camera techniques like bullet time and philosophical jargon that didn't resonate with him in the moment. Instead of taking the role of Neo, Smith chose to star in Wild Wild West, a big-budget sci-fi western that ultimately flopped both critically and commercially. In hindsight, Smith has said that he believes Keanu Reeves was a better fit for the role of Neo and that the film turned out better than it might have with him in the lead. He praised Reeves' performance as iconic and perfectly suited to the character's stoic, introspective nature, something Smith felt he might not have delivered in the same way. Smith's decision not to join The Matrix became one of the most talked about examples of a missed opportunity in Hollywood history. Yet he's taken the whole experience in stride, often joking about it in interviews and using it as an example of how not every decision in a successful career is the right one. Ironically, the choice helped reinforce his image as a confident, self-aware star who isn't afraid to admit when he's made a mistake. J.K. Rowling's path to literary success was anything but easy, and her early rejections are often cited as a powerful example of perseverance and belief in one's creative vision. In the early 1990s, Rowling, then a single mother living in Edinburgh, was struggling with financial hardship and bouts of depression. She began writing Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone during this time, developing the idea of a young boy who discovers he is a wizard and attends a magical school called Hogwarts. Rowling wrote much of the first book in cafes, pushing through her personal struggles to complete a manuscript she believed in deeply. When the manuscript was completed, Rowling began sending it to literary agents and publishers. The process was disheartening. She received rejection after rejection, 12 in total, from major publishers across the UK. These rejections were often based on concerns that the book was too long for a children's novel, or that the fantasy genre wasn't considered marketable at the time. Some publishers reportedly didn't even respond. Despite the mounting setbacks, Rowling continued to submit her work, refusing to give up hope. A breakthrough came when literary agent Christopher Little agreed to represent her, recognizing potential in the manuscript. Even then, it took some effort to find a publisher willing to take a chance on the story. Finally, Bloomsbury Publishing agreed to publish the book, but with a cautious approach. Chairman Nigel Newton gave the first chapter to his 8-year-old daughter, Alice, who loved it and wanted to read more. Her enthusiastic response played a key role in the publisher's decision to take on the project. Bloomsbury printed only 500 copies in the initial run, and Rowling was given a small advance of around £1,500. She was also advised to adopt the pen name J.K. Rowling, using her initials rather than her full name, Joanne Rowling, because it was believed that young boys might be less inclined to read a book written by a woman. The rest is literary history. Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone was published in 1997 and quickly gained traction through word of mouth and school libraries. The series went on to become a monumental success, selling over 500 million copies worldwide and being translated into over 80 languages. The book spawned a blockbuster film franchise, theme parks, merchandise empires, and a devoted global fan base. What's especially remarkable is that this cultural juggernaut was initially seen by the industry as too risky, too long, or simply not compelling enough. Rowling's experience underscores an important message for writers and creatives. Rejection does not equate to failure, and perseverance in the face of doubt can lead to extraordinary success. Her journey from being dismissed by a dozen publishers to becoming one of the most successful and influential authors in modern history is a powerful reminder that sometimes it only takes one yes to change everything. Megan Fox, widely known for her roles in films like Transformers and Jennifer's Body, has often been the subject of public fascination, not just for her acting and beauty, but also for a unique physical trait. She has what is medically referred to as brachydactyly type D, commonly known as a clubbed thumb or toe thumb. This condition is characterized by unusually short and broad thumbs with a flattened nail bed, caused by a genetic trait that affects the bone structure. Brachydactyly type D is relatively rare and benign, meaning it does not impact function or cause any health problems, but it does result in a distinct appearance. In Megan Fox's case, the trait is subtle yet noticeable, especially in close-up photos or during media appearances, where her hands are visible. The condition is inherited and often runs in families, though it can also appear sporadically without a clear genetic pattern. This aspect of her anatomy has sparked both curiosity and unwarranted criticism online, with some internet users fixating on her thumbs in contrast to conventional beauty standards. Despite the occasional public commentary, Megan Fox has never expressed embarrassment or shame about the trait. In fact, she has referenced it with humour in interviews, showing a grounded self-awareness and confidence that has helped diffuse much of the unnecessary scrutiny. The attention given to Fox's thumbs reflects a broader cultural tendency to overly scrutinize celebrities' appearances, yet her response to this attention also highlights an important conversation about embracing individual differences and rejecting narrow definitions of beauty. Megan Fox's clubbed thumbs, while often discussed in superficial terms, ultimately serve as a reminder of the human uniqueness that exists even among those frequently held up as icons of perfection. Justin Bieber's rise to fame is one of the most well-known examples of how the internet, and particularly YouTube, can transform a young talent into a global superstar. His journey began in Stratford, Ontario, where he was raised by his single mother, Patty Mallet. From a young age, Bieber showed a natural talent for music, teaching himself to play various instruments, including the drums, guitar, piano, and trumpet. To showcase her son's abilities, Patty started uploading videos of him singing covers of popular songs to YouTube, initially for friends and family who couldn't attend his local performances. These videos, however, quickly gained traction beyond their intended audience. Bieber's soulful voice, confident stage presence, and charming personality captured the attention of viewers around the world. Among those viewers was Scooter Braun, a former marketing executive who stumbled upon one of Bieber's videos in 2007 while searching for a different artist. Impressed by the young singer's talent, Braun tracked him down and contacted Patty Mallet, eventually convincing her to allow Justin to travel to Atlanta to record demo tapes. That trip proved to be life-changing. In Atlanta, Bieber met R&B star Usher, who was equally impressed and soon helped secure him a record deal with Island Records. By 2009, Bieber released his debut single One Time, which became a chart success and set the stage for his first full-length album, My World. The album was a commercial hit, and Bieber's fame exploded, making him a household name by the age of 15. His story, rooted in modest beginnings and amplified by social media, marked a new era in how musical talent could be discovered and nurtured. Bieber's discovery through YouTube revolutionized the music industry's understanding of online platforms as legitimate launching pads for artists. It also underscored the power of fan engagement, as his early followers played a significant role in spreading his videos and building his initial popularity. Today, Bieber is one of the most successful pop artists of his generation, and his journey from home-recorded YouTube videos to international superstardom continues to inspire aspiring musicians around the world. David Blaine, the renowned illusionist and endurance artist, achieved one of his most astonishing feats on April 30th, 2008, when he held his breath underwater for 17 minutes and 4.4 seconds during a live broadcast on The Oprah Winfrey Show. This incredible performance set a new world record at the time for oxygen-assisted static apnea, an event in which the participant breathes pure oxygen before holding their breath. The feat was not just a demonstration of physical endurance, but also of mental discipline, rigorous training, and scientific strategy. In the weeks leading up to the event, Blaine underwent intense preparation, which included purging carbon dioxide from his lungs through specific breathing techniques, improving his lung capacity, and undergoing medical supervision to avoid long-term damage. Unlike his previous attempt in 2006, where he tried to hold his breath for 9 minutes during a stunt submerged in a water-filled sphere in New York City and failed, this time he focused entirely on breath holding as a standalone challenge. He trained with professionals from the diving and medical communities to better understand the physiology and psychology of breath holding. The 17-minute underwater breath hold took place in a water tank in front of a live studio audience and millions of viewers watching on television. Blaine remained eerily calm throughout, floating motionless, monitored closely by medical personnel to ensure his safety. As the minutes ticked by, tension built among the audience and viewers, knowing that pushing the human body to such limits could be dangerous or even fatal if miscalculated. Blaine's successful completion of the challenge was met with widespread amazement. Although the record he set was eventually surpassed, his performance remains one of the most memorable moments in the history of televised stunts. More importantly, it highlighted Blaine's transition from being viewed merely as a magician or street performer to being recognized as a serious endurance artist, someone willing to explore and test the boundaries of human capability through meticulous training and unwavering mental focus. Daniel Day-Lewis is widely regarded as one of the most dedicated and immersive actors of his generation, and his portrayal of Abraham Lincoln in Steven Spielberg's 2012 film Lincoln is a prime example of his commitment to method acting. Known for staying in character for the entire duration of a film shoot, Day-Lewis took his process to extraordinary lengths while portraying the 16th President of the United States. He remained in character as Lincoln not just on set but off it as well, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for the duration of the production. This meant that during filming, Day-Lewis spoke in Lincoln's voice, adopted his mannerisms, and maintained his 19th century mindset, even in his interactions with cast and crew. He chose to speak in a historically informed, high-pitched voice, based on research that suggested Lincoln did not have the deep, booming voice often depicted in earlier portrayals. He also insisted on being called Mr. President, or Abe, by everyone on set, including director Steven Spielberg and his fellow actors. This immersive approach extended to modern technology as well. Day-Lewis reportedly sent text messages to co-stars like Sally Field, who played Mary Todd Lincoln in character, writing in the tone and language Lincoln might have used had he lived in the era of smartphones. Spielberg, who had long wanted to make a film about Lincoln and considered Day-Lewis essential to the role, respected and adapted to the actor's intense process. Spielberg did not speak to Day-Lewis as himself during the shoot. He only addressed him as Lincoln, helping preserve the integrity of Day-Lewis's immersion. The result was a performance that was widely praised for its authenticity, emotional depth and nuance, earning Day-Lewis his 3rd Academy Award for Best Actor, making him the first male actor to achieve that milestone. While some may see his approach as extreme, Daniel Day-Lewis's method acting has consistently yielded critically acclaimed performances that are deeply transformative. His commitment to character, particularly in Lincoln, helped bring one of the most complex and revered figures in American history vividly to life on screen. The role solidified Day-Lewis's legacy, not just as a gifted actor, but as an artist, uniquely willing to dissolve the line between performer and historical figure in pursuit of cinematic truth. Ariana Grande, the pop superstar known for her powerful vocals and chart-topping hits, surprised many fans when she revealed that she is allergic to tomatoes. The revelation came to public attention in 2019 after she was forced to cancel a scheduled concert in Tampa, Florida, due to an allergic reaction. Grande later shared on social media that the reaction was caused by tomatoes, stating that she had experienced throat swelling and other symptoms that made it impossible for her to perform safely. The news was particularly surprising to fans because tomatoes are a common ingredient in many foods, especially Italian cuisine, which Grande has publicly expressed her love for in the past, given her Italian heritage. The allergy appeared to be a late-onset sensitivity. As Grande herself noted, she had never had a problem with tomatoes before. It's not uncommon for food allergies to develop later in life, though it can be disorienting when it involves such a staple ingredient. Grande's openness about her allergy also highlighted the pressures artists face when dealing with health issues while maintaining demanding tour schedules. In addressing the incident, she expressed disappointment at having to cancel a show, but emphasized the importance of health and safety for both herself and her fans. Her candor about the experience was met with empathy and support, as it served as a reminder that even international pop icons face everyday challenges like food allergies. Since then, Ariana has reportedly been careful about her diet, avoiding tomatoes and tomato-based products while on tour and during public appearances. Her experience added her to the list of celebrities who live with dietary restrictions, and it reminded fans of the importance of listening to one's body, even in the midst of a fast-paced lifestyle. Before becoming one of Hollywood's most iconic leading men, Harrison Ford worked as a professional carpenter, a chapter in his life that significantly shaped his later acting career. In the late 1960s and early 1970s, Ford was struggling to break into acting. Despite signing a contract with Columbia and later Universal, he found himself landing only minor roles, most of which he considered uninspiring. Frustrated with the lack of meaningful opportunities and needing to support his growing family, Ford decided to pursue carpentry as a more reliable source of income. Entirely self-taught, Ford honed his woodworking skills by studying books and practicing relentlessly, eventually developing a reputation as a skilled and meticulous craftsman. He began taking on freelance carpentry jobs around Los Angeles, which included custom home renovations and furniture making. His clients included a number of well-known figures in the entertainment industry, and his craftsmanship earned respect far beyond what one might expect from an aspiring actor, supplementing his income. Ironically, it was through carpentry that Ford reconnected with the acting world in a more substantial way. One of his jobs involved building cabinets for George Lucas, who was then preparing to film American Graffiti, released in 1973. Impressed by Ford's personality and presence, Lucas cast him in the role of Bob Falfa, a part that helped rejuvenate Ford's stalled acting career. That collaboration would later lead to Ford being cast as Han Solo in Star Wars, released in 1977, a role that made him a global superstar and permanently altered the trajectory of his life. Ford's background as a carpenter has since become a celebrated part of his mythology. It's a story that underscores his work ethic, humility, and perseverance, traits that endeared him to directors and audiences alike. Even after achieving fame, Ford has spoken with pride about his time in the trade, and he occasionally returns to woodworking as a personal hobby. His journey from building furniture to becoming Indiana Jones and Han Solo is a testament to how unconventional paths and practical skills can unexpectedly lead to legendary success. John Lennon, one of the most influential musicians of the 20th century and a founding member of the Beatles, was legally blind without his glasses, a fact not widely known to many fans during the height of his fame. Lennon had severe myopia, which meant that without corrective lenses, he had significant difficulty seeing anything beyond a very short distance. His prescription was extremely strong, and his vision impairment was such that he was considered legally blind without his glasses. Throughout his career, Lennon was often photographed either wearing his iconic round granny glasses or without any eyewear at all. The round glasses, which became a major part of his image, were originally issued as part of his costume for the 1967 film How I Won the War, directed by Richard Lester. Lennon took a liking to the look and began wearing the style regularly, eventually turning them into one of his signature visual trademarks. They served not just as a fashion statement, but as a necessity for him to function and perform with clarity. Despite his dependence on glasses, Lennon often opted not to wear them in public or during performances in the earlier days of the Beatles. This choice was partly aesthetic and partly influenced by the era's attitudes toward eyewear, which wasn't always considered compatible with the rock and roll image. However, as Lennon grew older and more confident in his personal style, he embraced the glasses more openly. They became synonymous with his post-Beatles persona, a symbol of his evolving identity as a solo artist and peace activist. Lennon's severe nearsightedness also played a subtle role in shaping his behaviour and interactions. According to those close to him, he could be more introverted or guarded when not wearing his glasses, perhaps due to the discomfort of navigating the world in a blurred haze. Yet this vulnerability rarely showed on stage or in interviews, where his wit and charisma remained sharp. His visual impairment serves as a reminder that even the most iconic figures have personal challenges they quietly manage behind the scenes. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed diving into the lesser-known side of these celebrities, but the story doesn't end here. Next up, we're pulling back the curtain on celebrities both past and present. You won't want to miss. Stay tuned.